Hello everyone, I am here with a story for you tonight. The story tonight is called Johnny Angel. It is a true story sent into Guidepost by Lily Matsumoto. These are true stories like coincidences or miracles. So let's see whether you think this is just a coincidence or a miracle story. I'm going to look for some stories, start looking them up, fact or fiction, real stories that they make up. Some they make up that are real and some are really facts. And start reading them to you guys so we can play games. Because they're really good. I used to watch them on TV all the time. They were really fun. And they were good too. They were tricky. But these are supposed to be all real in this book. But let's see. The older man kept watching me. The automotive center was busy with customers dropping off their vehicles for service. I filled out the paperwork and handed my keys to the mechanic. I looked around for the waiting room and saw the man had not left, but continued to follow my movements. That's creepy. He walked toward me. My pulse quickened and my stomach somersaulted. Ew. My 11-year-old son Jason and I had stopped in Fredericksburg, Virginia, after departing Lynchburg. We had traveled cross-country from our home in California to relocate in a rural town near the mountains. Dear friends prayed with me, and all agreed that God had given his okay for us to begin a new life in Virginia. When the school year began and I hadn't found permanent employment, we decided to return to California. Perhaps I had misunderstood God's leading. With this decision to move back now, fresh in my mind, tears streamed down my cheeks. I tried to hide my discomfort behind dark glasses. I wanted to be invisible. But to my dismay, the man stood beside me. He was well dressed in a suit and tie and smiled at me. I wasn't in the mood for conversation or a pickup. "Hi," the stranger said. "Can I be of assistance?" "Thank you," I responded. "We're fine." He persevered in chatting with me, and though I had no intention of revealing my hurt, my defenses collapsed. "I can't find work. The school won't register my son without a permanent address. I have just enough money to return home," I sobbed. "I'm having my Volkswagen checked before the drive back to Orange County." I blurted out my miserable tale before I could catch my breath. "Come home with me," he said. He may have good intentions, or he may not, but either way, these days, that's very creepy. Probably would have been back then, too. I don't know about that. His smile consoled me. "I would love to have you join me for lunch." He offered us a short reprieve before our lengthy journey. His invitation was sincere, and for some reason that I didn't understand, I trusted him. Peter was a gracious host. He owned a little motel called the Johnny Appleseed. A great statue of Johnny stood outside, replete with traveling boots, red checkered shirt, suspenders, and a bag of seeds over his shoulder. The aroma of fresh apple pie wafered through the air. Jason and I looked at each other, anticipating a scrumptious dessert. After we savored our delicious meal, Peter insisted we stay at his motel for the night. Well, see, that's fine. The thought of a comfortable bed and clean sheets was too good to pass up. Tired and poor spirits, we were happy to agree. A peaceful night's rest would be just the refreshment we needed. Our new friend made all the arrangements. The next morning he met us in the lobby for breakfast. "Before you leave, may I pray for you?" Peter said. Now, see, this is very, 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 very kind. "Thank you. I would appreciate that," I replied. Peter thanked the Lord for bringing us into his life. So sweet. And asked for a safe journey on our route. He even prayed that I would continue to trust in the Lord and his assurance that I was in the right place. I was confused because I wasn't sure that I was in the Lord's will. He hadn't provided a job or a home for us in Virginia. My son missed his grandparents in California, and I was running out of funds. My faith was weak, and I needed to rely on my own instincts. Peter asked me to stay one more night and pray about my future. He offered us lodging again and assured me that a position would be available soon. That evening, my son and I prayed and discussed the pros and cons of an extended stay. Though we appreciated Peter's friendship and the reprieve he had given us, we decided to return to the familiar surroundings of California and family. I wrote a thank you note and left it at the reception desk. We left Fredericksburg early the next morning. Several days later, we rounded the bend in the California desert en route to Orange County. I began to bawl. I didn't want to be on the road home. I missed the green rolling hills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It was too late to turn back. I made my decision, and God had let me down. We bunked in with my parents, and I scanned the newspaper want ads. 3 days after our return to Orange County, I received a phone call from a hospital in Lynchburg, Virginia. I had applied for a position at their facility, but they hadn't been hiring. Apparently, my application was routed to the laboratory, and they wanted me to come in for an interview. Speechless, I realized God had provided, but I had not trusted him. I did not have the means to return to Virginia, and with regret turned down their offer. I prostrated myself before the Lord and asked his forgiveness for my unbelief and weakness. A year later, some friends were traveling to Virginia. That would take them through Fredericksburg. Would you do me a favor while you are there? I asked. Be glad to, they replied. What can we do for you? I didn't properly thank a special gentleman there. Would you drop in and let him know I never forgot his kindness and generosity, and how much his friendship meant to me and Jason? No problem, they said. I provided them with information about Peter, along with the name and location of the motel. I composed a thank you letter and sealed it. Fredericksburg was a small town, and I felt certain my friends would have no difficulty locating the motel and meeting Peter to rely my gratitude. Included the note of appreciation was a short testimony of my confession and reassurance of God's plan for my well-being. I felt an excitement to think that Peter would be pleased. 3 weeks later, Alice and Ed returned. I was eager to hear about their encounter with Peter. They apologized profusely as they chronicled their search. We traveled to the entire town and questioned many local people in an attempt to find the motel and Peter. No one we approached had heard of Johnny Appleseed Motel or had any knowledge of a gentleman named Peter. There was no listing in the phone book. It just doesn't exist. I was dumbfounded. How could that be? I thanked them for their efforts. They returned my unopened letter. Later that evening, I contemplated what had transpired. Then I heard a still, small voice. I provided an angel to refresh you before your journey home. My heart was overjoyed with the knowledge that an angel had entertained us. No other explanation would satisfy me. My uncertainty had turned a new dependence on God's word. He would never leave me or forsake me. His promises are true. Even in my disobedience, he loved me and Jason, enough to send his angel to comfort and encourage us. So that guy wasn't even a real guy. He was an angel. That motel and that restaurant didn't even really exist. She and Jason was the only one that could see it. He was an angel. Do you guys believe that? Do you think that was coincidence? Or do you think it was a miracle? I think it was a miracle. I had a miracle happen to me when I was in a car accident. I was in a bad car accident and nobody was there. Nobody was around. And all of a sudden this woman came up out of nowhere. And she would just happen to be, she said, an off-duty police officer. And she took care of everything. A police officer came and she just took over everything, started talking to him, doing everything for me. Because I was just out of it, not knowing anything, you know, just wandering around. I had glass in my head and everything. She was talking to him, just taking care of all of it. Now, what's the coincidences of that happening? I know she was an angel, and next thing I know, she was gone. I don't know where she went. You ain't telling me she wasn't an angel, because I know she was. She said she was an off-duty police officer that was on, had a day off. She was taking her kids out for a little trip, for a little vacation. I didn't see no kids there. I didn't even see a car. I just seen her, and she was right there. I didn't even see her walking towards me. I was just there in the car, in the field, and she was, I just turned around and there she was. I've been meaning to tell you guys that story for a while now. But, yeah, that's part of the story. Nobody can ever tell me she wasn't an angel, because I know she was. She'll always be my angel anyways. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Good night, guys, and I hope you guys have a great week.